I'm hoping that at the end of this short course, you're going to understand the primary responsibilities of a cinematographer. You'll be able to identify the key considerations in crafting visual storytelling, and then you'll be able to apply these considerations in the normal day-to-day shoot and filming that you are doing. I also want you to gain confidence in choosing and executing shots that enhances storytelling. I want you to understand how to use composition, perspective, and movement so that you can evoke emotions in your storytelling, so that you can give power to the story you are trying to tell. And at the long run, after this, you can expand the course, and then you will be able to tell stories and build your own portfolio and get on with storytelling at large. So, first and foremost, if we ask, what is the role of a cinematographer? Who is the cinematographer? That's the question at hand we're asking right now. If we are to define a cinematographer, oftentimes we call cinematographer director of photography. Also, you hear DP or DOP. DPs are responsible for crafting the visual language of the film. They work closely with the director to translate the script into compelling visuals. They are the one that shape the audience's emotional experience through camera work, through lighting, and composition. It is also the cinematographer that ensures that every frame is in alignment with the story's tone, mood, and the message, and also they also turn the abstract ideas into concrete imagery. So it's a big task a cinematographer has on the movie set, and is about a central role that a cinematographer plays in a team while film is being made. Okay, so what's the importance? If we say cinematographers are very important, what's the importance of a cinematographer on set? And in the process of filmmaking, what are the things that cinematographers do? First and foremost, visual storytelling. A cinematographer is the one that, because normally, if you read the script, you can as well enjoy it as a novel, you know, as a work of fiction. But it is the cinematographer with the other team member. You know, team members are coming together to help the director, but the cinematographer plays a key role in making this happen. So the very first thing that the cinematographer is about is visual storytelling. When you say visual storytelling, the script writer can describe that we see an aircraft landing in the airspace and yeah. So the cinematographer is the one to imagine it. How is it going to be? What are the tools that I need to bring out to life so that people can see? It's not a radio drama. If you just read the script over like a voiceover or something, people can listen to it. But when you want the audience to be able to visualize, to be able to get into the story, that's visual storytelling. So it's the cinematographer that determines how the narrative is visually conveyed. You know, is the one to choose the type of shots, the angle, the movement that can support the story's emotional and thematic undertones. You know, there are things that the writer can put in the script. The writer might just say, in a sorrowful mood. How will you recreate sorrowful mood? You know, in visual language. These are the works of a cinematographer. He is able to determine the mood and to make sure, okay, this shot is going to convey what we are trying to say in this scene, and how do we juxtapose the shot, and how do we use the shot, the atmosphere, the mood, through lighting, introduction of colors and composition. The director of photography is able to create the atmosphere that immerses the audience, whether it's the tension is of a trailer, or warmth or romantic scenes. You have the power to create. You have the power to make the audience believe, because the power is in your hand as a cinematographer. Okay, another important thing that a cinematographer has to do is the fact that he manages the technical aspect of filming, such as camera settings, lens selection, equipment use, ensuring high quality footage that's suitable for post-production. You know, when a distributor or when a producer approaches a cinematographer and say, okay, we want to shoot a film, the first question is going to be, what's the destination of the film? Where are you taking it to? It's the director of photography that is going to ensure that the filming, the process, the workflow that is adopted, it basically suits the destination that the film is going to, because it's not the same way you technically shoot what you're putting on YouTube, or there might be some specifics that Netflix is asking for, there might be some specifics that Amazon Prime is asking for, or you want to go to the cinema. Okay, how do you scale it up, or how do you scale it down? You know, so that is the work of the technical expertise of a DP in choosing your camera. Okay, if this is what you want, definitely you need this type of cameras, we need this type of lenses, and a lot of technical things. In short, the technical expertise, a lot relies on the director of photography. The director of photography also is the one with the creative vision. Creative vision, they bring unique artistic perspective. They are the one to enhance the director's vision with innovative approaches to storytelling. You know, if the director's blocking is just that two people in a romantic mood, they're walking from point A to point B, it's the director of photography that say, okay, how do I tell the story? Romantic mood. What's the definition? What can I use to achieve that? I can use light, I can use shot, I can use different things. So it is the director of photography that's going to be able to determine that. All right, another thing the director of photography, his importance is the fact that he ensures continuity. Continuity is the DP that ensures continuity, visual consistency. You know, we have continuity managers, we have ADs, first AD, second AD. Yeah, but there is another continuity, majorly, that you have to maintain throughout the production, throughout the filming stage. You know, you have to do it deliberately. You know, because if you're not filming deliberately, you might not be able to recreate what you are trying to create. And then definitely there might be a disconnect, you know, because there are intervals between filming. For instance, you might film some bits in London, film some bits in Manchester, or probably travel outside or anywhere to film the other scenes. You have to have that continuity maintained. You know, it's not just the continuity of lines, continuity of actions, continuity of tone of the movie. What's the genre of the film? What are you trying to achieve? And then definitely you make sure everything you are doing as a director of photography, you are doing it deliberately, and then you have to maintain coherence in lighting, in framing, and in color composition throughout the film. It's not just that you might have seen some films that the beginning is so wonderful, it's so nice, but towards the end you just discover that something is wrong, you're no longer enjoying it. Maybe when the DP had the energy, put all the energy in that particular scene, and then subsequent scenes probably he lost steam, and then yeah, the quality has changed. As a DP, you need to maintain consistency from beginning to the end of the production. So, based on the central role that the director of photography usually play in film production, the DP needs to collaborate with other team members, with other key crew members, and in fact everyone, you know, because if you look at it very well, the DP is the person that is in between everybody, that is the go-to person. You know, if you're doing the makeup, if you're the makeup artist, the DP is the one that can make or mar your job. You know, if it's not good enough, you can see through his lens, you know, because when you're doing some things at times, you just do it based on what you can see with your physical eyes. But when the DP now interprets what you have done, whether as a makeup artist, as a gaffer, or as an actor, the DP interprets it through the lens. You can now see, oh, this is what I've done. It's too much. It might be okay for the physical eye, but it's too much or it's not enough. So the key collaborations that that the director of photography that shouldn't joke with at all in any form is the director. The director is technically it's the director's film, but as the DP, it's also your film. You know, because you wouldn't let anything jeopardize what the director's vision is, because you're stepping into the director's shoe to interpret his vision. So the director and the cinematographer, they work like hand in hand, like creative partners, you know, partner A and B. But at the long run, it's still the director's film. But it's you telling the story that the writer has written and the director is directing, but you are the one bringing the visual elements into it. You're the one breathing life into it, you know, to make it all come together and all work as a DP. So, like I did say, the DP is the creative partner to the director. The director is the one to outline the story's vision, and the DP now translates that vision into visual elements. You know, regular collaboration is essential in pre-production for storyboarding, shot planning, and location scouting. You know, you don't wait until when you're on set before you communicate your ideas with your DP, and if the director is not forthcoming, you reach out to the director. Oh, I read this scene. How do you want it to be? Okay, let's do it this way. We're going to require this gear or this rig for this scene. So at this point, you can now start suggesting rigs like, okay, for us to achieve that, we need a crane, we need to use a drone at this point. So you have that collaboration with the director. Another person you need to keep an eye on in terms of collaboration is the production designer. The DP works with production designer to ensure that the set designs, the props, and the costumes, they all align with the film's visual style. You know, definitely there are different camera-friendly colors, you know, depending on what you want to say. Yeah, let's assume everyone knows what they are doing, but at times they might get some things wrong. But you need to, with wisdom, relate with your production designer, because trust me, the production designer can make your life easier as a DP, because if he understands photography very well, understands color spectrum, he can and he knows what you want to achieve by working with your production designer very well. Your work is already half done. It's easier. You know, all the props are on point. The colors are there. They are not too much. Nothing is shouting. Nothing is too moody. You know, it's just to coordinate the color schemes and texture that you are trying to achieve with the filming. Another person, very important key crew that you need to collaborate with as a cinematographer is the editors. Because the editors, they are the one that can shape what you have done or take what you have done out of shape. Because the editors, they are the ones to sit on the job that you have done, when you are gone, in your absence. And nowadays, it's now more affordable to shoot flat, to shoot raw, to shoot S-Log, to shoot B-roll, to shoot, not adding color. You now rely so much on post-production to do color grading. So at every point in time, you need to have, first and foremost, at the pre-production level, you need to be on the same page with the editor. You need to have a workflow that this is what we want to do. This is the format we are filming in, and this scene by scene breakdown. And if there's any issue that is considering, you iron it out before filming, you know, because you might not be able to be present in the studio when the post-production is being done, when the edit is being done. So close communication, we always ensure that shots captured during filming, they also transition smoothly into editing process, you know, because if you have done a very beautiful shot and the editor sees no reason for that shot, he might just strike it off. like, oh, this is not necessary, we don't need this shot, and now use some different shot, because he's going to interpret it with his own technical ability, you know. But there are some shots you have taken, especially where movement is concerned. You know, you have in mind when to use this movement, that, okay, the scene is going to open with this movement from point A to point B, and while the movement has gotten to point A, point B, we cut to, you are the first audience of the film. You're the one watching the film before it's being made and while it's being made. You know, so you have seen all this, but you need to collaborate, because if the editor doesn't understand you, you're going to waste a lot of shots or might not use. And at the same time, the editor can add more life to what you have in mind that is even going to be better than what you have in mind. Oh, I wasn't thinking that way, but at the long run, it came out well. And then it's better. Then the gaffers, lighting and camera crew. These are guys that you cannot, you definitely don't want to underrate them. These are guys that are the one that they are the one making things happen for you, because cinematographer leads the camera operators. You don't necessarily have to be the one hands on the camera, you know, but most of the time the director of photography or cinematographer doubles as one of the camera operators or the only camera operator, depending on the scope of the production. And then you as the DP, you are the one leading the gaffers, the grips. They need to work together with you to execute the planned shot effectively. And then you need to communicate very well in order not to waste time. You know, the lighting technicians and everybody, they already know what you want to do. They've seen your storyboard, whether on paper or you explain what you want to do. At times, you don't necessarily have to say, put this light there, put that one there. All you need to do is that we have somebody that is seated in a bath, like, and then you just give a brief, and then they're able to follow it through and give you your expectation, what you are thinking of. And even they can even push your imagination. They can give you more than what you're asking for some of the time. And then when you see it, you will know, because greatness usually can identify great things. You know, when you see what your guy is giving you and you're happy with it. But there are times that they go against what you want, with wisdom, with tolerance. You explain, no, that's not what I want. This is too much. This is this, this is that. You iron things out. You have a conversation. The same way the director can also override some of your own decision as the DP, that, oh, no, let's tone it down this way, let's do it that way. And then, yeah, boom. The utmost thing is the result. We just want result at the long run. Another key person you want to collaborate with effectively, and remember, I'm talking about effective collaboration, an expectation of the DP, from you as the DP, from these guys, is the sound department. The DP collaborates with the sound team to ensure that camera movements and setups, they do not interfere with the sound capture. You know, you don't want to really interfere in what they are doing. You have to trust them. One secret is this: hire only the person you trust. And guess what? Trust the person you hire. If you cannot trust the person, don't hire him. But if you have hired him, trust him, you know, to deliver the job and give benefit of hindsight. But at the long run, there are unforeseen circumstances. You know, there might be situations where actors and all that, the way they are going to do, you are planning something, you need to let them know. If you there's a special way they have to light, they have to get sound from somebody that is wearing a shirt, from somebody that is wearing wrapper or different kind of things. So if they know ahead what you want to achieve, everyone is there to help you, and definitely they are going to really help you. So they work together to maintain synchronization between visual and audio. Don't forget, a movie is called audiovisual, what you see and you can hear. If what you see is so good and what you can hear is not good, then it becomes a bad film, you know. Another very important people that we relate with is the actors. As DPs, you relate with the actors. The DP interacts with actors to position them effectively in the frame and ensure they are well lit appropriately for the scene. Guess what? When you look at your screen, you see actors. Without actors, you're not doing anything as DP, and then you need to work with them in such a way that they can maximize the effort you are putting into the filming. Because if you're just doing what you're doing without the actors' cooperation, definitely you can definitely lose out at the long run. So you need to patiently work with them with the director's permission to reposition them, to advise the director on blockings based on different perspective, that okay, if she comes from there, this is what we're going to lose, but if she comes from here, you work with them with their their deliveries, their lines, that at this point do this, do that. A bit, if you're not careful, there's a thin line between directing and you collaborating with the actors, so you make sure you don't cross the line except with the director's permission. All right. In summary, a cinematographer is the architect, architect of the film's visual identity. Their expertise and then collaboration and creativity. They're so crucial in bringing a director's vision to life or marrying the director's vision. They ensure that the experience that of the story that the audience will have has the most impactful weight. So effective collaboration with other crew members usually foster a very harmonious workflow and ultimately elevating the film's quality and resonance. Okay, if we talk about key considerations for visual storytelling, what are the things you need to consider as a cinematographer? You need to consider the tone, the movie, and the consistency. I've spoken a bit about that. And then camera work, you have to talk about composition, you have to consider movement, and then the choice of lens that you're going to use, also the choice of camera. I mentioned that a bit, but I'm not sure how much of breakdown I can do in this course unit, but I'm going to try my best as much as possible in such a way that you can understand what I am saying. So the question I'm going to ask you is, what are the available lenses you have? And what determines what lens that you bring on set? And then when you have various sets, various lenses on set, how do you determine which one you use per time? As a director of photography, you know what you want to do. You're already considering what lens you want to use, what you want to achieve. Okay, if you want to film, you want to film a wide shot, you're looking for a lens that can accommodate the weight of what you want to film, because you're considering the field of view. What will the audience see, at the first instance when the scene opens? The lens that, okay, this lens is going to see too much. That in terms of you want a narrower field of view. You want to consider a long lens. We have wide lens, we have long lens. Long lens usually compresses the field of view. Field of view is what you see. How narrow is it? You can take a close shot with a wide angle lens, let's say 18 mm. Just move close to me and then take a close shot. After all, they say a close shot is just this shot, and then you move close, and then you're going to see wide head like that, and then you're going to see too much from the back. But the same shot, the same frame, shoulder up shot, move backward, select a longer lens, like maybe 85 mm, 50 mm, or even 135 mm, as long as you can move back. And then take the same shot with the same camera with that lens, and then you're going to see a narrower field of view. You're not going to see too much behind me, because it's going to narrow down. You understand what I mean? It's going to narrow down. We won't see too much from behind, and then you're going to get less distraction from the back. A lot of things, other things are involved in terms of lens selection, and maybe I might be able to touch up on exposure triangle at some point later in this course. Okay, another key consideration that you want to take care of as a DP is the lighting. I have talked about collaboration between the lighting department, because you have to be involved. You have to plan it together. You know, you have to be involved in what is being done. You have to set the emotion, or what do you want? Do you want artificial light? Do you want natural light? And there are different range of things you can do. You already know the kits that you have. You can advise that, no, let's use this light here, and let us not use that. You know when to complement the artificial light with the natural light. With the exterior you're trying to achieve, is the interior, what are you actually trying to achieve? So what you're trying to achieve, if you discuss it with the lighting department, then they know how to give it to you. So it's most of the time you want to do, or some of the time you want to do, like 3-point lighting, and some of the time you don't even want that. You want some creativity put into what you are doing. So yeah, so definitely lighting is very, very important thing to consider. And you want to look at the kind of light that you want, and then, because that is what determines the color that you're going to be getting. White balance is a very important thing now, because our balance is how true is what you are doing compared to what the script is saying. Is it daylight? Is it night? Is it sunrise? Is it sunset? What are you doing? What are the improvisations that you're considering? What are you improvising? Like, if you look behind me, there's a little window there, and this entire set that I'm in, it's artificial. It's not a location. It's a studio, and it's a it's a set that is made of not wood. It's made of paper, and through the window there's a screen there, and there's an image on the screen that is giving you the illusion of maybe that there's another house there. There's no house there, it's a wall, but there's a TV screen behind it, and the light is a revealer. It's going to reveal whether what you're trying to do. And if you look around me, you can consider having a practical light also. Practical light needs to be simulated. Like if you say there's a lamp here, and then definitely the light needs to fall in a particular direction, so as to make what you're doing, to make it quite believable. Okay. All right. Technical mastery is also important. Trust me, you need to know what you're doing in terms of settings, resolution, and equipment. Now, it is very arguable to say which camera is the best or not. The question is, what results do you want? What result do you want to achieve from filming what you're filming? And if your result is for you to shoot to achieve a 4K resolution, or to 6K, or a 6K resolution, then you have to make decisions based on what your expected result is. And at the same time, it is very important for you to know how to use your tool, because the camera is like a tool to you. As a camera operator, as a director of photography, you are the one leading the team. And you can't give what you don't have. You need knowledge. You need to research. You need to go all out for it. You need to go beyond just YouTube. You need to get your hands on it. You need to try it. If you can learn more, definitely it's going to position you in a better way. Think out of the box. The stereotypic way of doing things, that this is what you must do. What is the new trend? What is happening now? You need to discover all this, and then you need to be able to deliver as a director of photography. That's what makes you a director of photography. That's what makes you a cinematographer. That you need to know about light. You need to know about light temperature. You need to know about light color. How to measure these things. Before now, before film got more digital. As a DP, you carry about light meter in order to check the amount of light that is on your set, because your screen on the camera cannot give you true exposure. But now we have a lot of things like histogram, we have false color, we have different things that you can use as a tool in order to get the right exposure to maximize what you are doing as a director of photography. All right, so I've spoken about collaboration with everyone. Definitely it's something you need to take serious for you to be successful as a cinematographer. It's a key consideration. All right, budget and resources, it's very important also. What budget do I have to do this film? That's the first thing that comes to mind. So you're going to ask yourself, because it's your budget that determines what camera you're going to use. It's your budget that will determine how long you're going to film for. It's your budget that will determine a lot of things. The kind of lighting that you're going to hire or that you're going to buy. So it is important for you to have a knowledge of the budget of the production and an efficient use of your tools. You know, because most of the time when people choose cameras, they just choose something maybe based on that is what they used in shooting this film. As a DP, most of the time I've heard, oh, this film is good. What camera did you use? And then they want to use that same camera. The camera didn't use me, I used the camera, you know. So it's your process matters, you know. Some people, what they're going to film with a phone, some people might not achieve it with a more expensive and sophisticated phone. But guess what? I'm talking about efficient use of your tools. Whatever it is you have, if it can deliver what you want in terms of resolution, you know, then the rest is on the lenses and on the effective use of light and your movement and then your creativity. You know, how do you play with creating your shots, with delivering what you are meant to deliver. So key consideration is budget and resources. You need to consider it very well. You need to advise and say, if you want to make a movie of this scale, then we need more, we need this kind of light, we need this kind of camera. And it's not just because you want to use it and just have fun using it, you know, because yeah, it has happened before. Yeah, you point to equipment that's, well, you need it, but with the result you want to achieve. The question I ask myself some of the time is, when I see some production and say, oh, we shot on this camera, will I see the impact of the extra money in the production? So there must be total and absolute maximization of the budget and the resources that you have as a cinematographer in the end result of what you're doing. Then another key consideration is location and environment. Where are you shooting? I've just given you an example of the environment I'm filming this in now. You know, you have to consider, okay, am I filming in a studio? This is inside a studio. And then am I going to location? What is the sound like in that location? What is it like with the weather? You know, the very first time I was filming in the United Kingdom, that was in 2013. And then we started filming, the sun started from right above, overhead. That's where the sun started from us in the morning. And by the time it was 3 o'clock, it was already dark. So you need to factor your environment, the location, what are you doing and when are you doing it? You know, if you want to shoot during summer, you go do recce during summer. You don't go do recce during summer and go filming during winter. Definitely the situation is going to be different. There might be some challenges and you expect the challenges and you know how to adapt. You know, if you cannot adapt, then push it to when you can. Above all, get the best out of your tool. So key consideration for a cinematographer is your location and then your environment. You have to do scouting, you have to have expectations, you have to be sensitive to your proposed location. You know, if you visit a place that you want to film as a location during the day, and then it's supposed to be at night, and you discover that when you come at night, there's a club beside the location that usually operates at night, and you're not aware of that. You know, and there's a loud music coming up, and it's going to affect your sound guys. So those things are the things you need to check a very, take a very proactive step towards mitigating such unforeseen circumstances. So I'm going to talk about this very important thing as a DP that you need to consider very well, and that is safety and practicality. Safety. Your safety is important to you. The safety of the equipment you are using is important to you. The safety of your crew is important to you. And the safety of the actors that you are working with is also important to you. So there's something we call risk assessment. I'm going to just mention it briefly, but we can go deeper in maybe subsequent time. Risk assessment is very important for you to do and to follow as a director of photography. You know, risk assessment is just assessment, you know. Okay, what can go wrong in this environment? I only just said, oh, okay, if this was a wood and it's not well screwed, it can fall over while you are filming. Okay, so all the lights are hanging from the top. If it's not safe enough, if the load is more than the string holding it, it can follow. So that's the assessment. So how do you mitigate? How do you fight against the risk? So we're going to be filming in the studio, and then there's light from the roof, and it has a tendency to fall. That is the risk. You have identified it. The first thing is to identify the risk attached to your action or inaction. Let me come down to a lower level. Let's say the director wants a high angle shot, and then you want to climb a tree to go and take the shot. What is the risk attached to you climbing a tree? That is working at height. A tree is not a rig. It's just a traditional or a local rig, improvised rig. You need a crane to do that kind of a thing, or you need a jeep. But because, okay, maximize your tool, whatever you have, and then you climb the tree. I'm not saying don't climb. I'm just saying do a risk assessment that if I climb, I will make sure the branch I'm on, I've checked it. There are no insects. There is no snake anywhere. I'm just giving you an example of risk assessment. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that the branches can't fall off, and I won't be on the falling branch even if it falls, you know, and my camera cannot drop, and I am okay, and I can climb. So I'm not saying climb. I'm not saying don't climb. I'm just using it as an example of risk assessment. By the time you're doing your lighting, and if you are using tungsten light, back then days of 2K light and tungsten light, RE light and all that, they get very hot. So the risk assessment with working with that is that when you work with this light, it's going to get very hot, and that heat can burn your fingers, and that heat can generate heat that can probably make the cast uncomfortable, can make them to be sweaty, and they can pass out. So that is the risk. You have identified the risk. So what do you do to reduce if you cannot eliminate the risk? You say, do not touch. You yourself, you're not going to touch, and you're going to point everybody not to touch. Or you wear gloves, or you get a fan on standby that when you're not filming, the fan is providing some comfort for the cast so that they don't burn out, you know. And a lot of things that hazards, you know, hazards, you can take care of them, like cables on the floor. Okay, we're running cable from point A to point B. The risk is that people have trip hazard. They can trip and fall. So how will do it in such a way that they will not fall? okay, let's put a mat on it. Let's put a sign. The floor is wet. Wet floors, you can sleep on wet floors, you know, all that kind of things. So that is risk assessment, risk management. And do not, I tell you, I say again, do not take unnecessary risk. Don't let it slide by, you know. Yeah, we know you want to show that you can do it, but guess what? If you become disabled today, I'm not even sure you have adequate insurance in place that can take care of your treatment, or that can pay your pensions for life because you got in. What's the magnitude of the production you are doing that you're gonna kill yourself? So risk is very important, and look out for your crew. As the leader of the crew, there's something called duty of care. If where you are going to sleep, make sure they are safe, make sure everything is okay, and then you return all crew back to default, the way you met them. Don't take a crew, a lightman as the able-bodied person, and at the same time, when you are returning the crew after the production, the crew now cannot work very well, has become disabled. You don't want that. And there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Every lifting up of object, there is manual handling, how to lift object. Not just, let us help you, just bend down and then break your spinal cord as an actor, as anything, you know. So very important. We cannot overemphasize the issue of safety, you know. There's a lot of safety challenges, and there are some practical and recommended solutions to reduce, you know, the risk if you cannot eliminate it, you know. But at the long run, nothing is worth dying for, and be safe so that you can shoot multiple more award-winning films. All right, another key consideration is post-production vision. I have mentioned it a bit. You need to have a vision that this is what we are going to do in post. If you need to put a note down to let the editor know, let the continuity manager or the first AD or whoever is writing, let them write it down, you know, that note to the editor that this scene, this is what we are doing, and this is why we are doing it the way we are doing it. And then you need that to be communicated to the post-production desk. And a very key consideration is to make sure that your visual style, it aligns with the narrative. You don't shoot a comedy the same way you will shoot maybe, let's say, like a tragedy or a sci-fi. There's a way. You need to learn more. You need to be able to be consistent. Let's see the consistency. Let's know that this is what you're trying to do, and let's see how much of how you're able to achieve it. Okay, in order to beat the time, I did say I was going to talk about exposure triangle. When you bring out a camera and you say it's too bright, or it's dark, it's not bright enough, or some portions are too bright, some portions are not bright enough, some are too dark. What is responsible? How do you take care of your exposure? That's what we're going to round up with. Because camera is just about light. It's about the amount of light that is getting into the camera. The sensor of the camera, how receptive is the sensor to the camera? That's what makes camera better than the other. What's the dynamic range of the camera? How does the camera see black? How does it see white? You know, and then lighting is very important. You know, the amount of light you put on the subject or that you did not put on the subject is directly it's directly proportional to the result that you get. So the exposure triangle, you can check it out, you can look it out more. The exposure triangle is a fundamental concept in photography and in cinematography, and it explains the relationship between these three camera settings: the aperture, the shutter speed, and the ISO. You know, triangle, exposure triangle. The basic things you need to learn, how does this affect the light that I have in my shot? You need to consider these three things. You need to consider the aperture you're using, the shutter speed, and then what ISO are you using also? Those are the basic three things, and these settings, they work together and they control how much light reaches the camera's light sensitive surface. You know, they are like working hand in hand, that to make sure that this is the light that gets to the lens or to the camera's sensor, and this is what did not make it true. So exposure triangle is something that you want to look into, and it's a triangle: aperture, ISO, and then shutter speed. You know, and you have to be careful. I usually give this analysis, like I've seen a lot of people, when I see their setup, I see that the layman language I can use to explain it is like, maybe you are outside and you have a sunshade on. And by the time you come into the house and you say, oh, it's dark. It's dark, put on the light. I can't see. So you have multiple options at that point. When you come in from outside with a sunshade because the sun was bright outside and you protected yourself with that shade. And when you come inside, what are the options that you have? You have the option to put on more light so that you can see. You have the option to open your eyes wider so that you can see. You also have the option to take off the sunshade. So many a times you have the ND filter on, and then you say this shot is dark, and you are cranking up the ISO, or you are putting more light. So when do you use what? That's the question I want to ask you. And if this is all you can take away from this presentation, that is key. The exposure triangle. I have a whole video on that, I think, on the exposure triangle. Cameras now, they have base ISOs, that this is the safe ISO that you can use. You know, when you use more ISO in terms of number, you get more light, but the trade-off for that is the fact that you have noise. I don't know if you have encountered noise before, that what you're doing, you discover that it's very noisy, you know, when you are filming, and then you have grains. You know, you have grains whether at the background or even right across everything you are doing. So when you gain something in terms of lighting, you lose something. You know, so when you gain ISO, it gives you more light, but that light is artificial. It's not real. You know, so what you are losing quality. Especially if you are shooting log, you know, and you're relying on post production. By the time they grade it, you start your picture will start tearing. You know, so that's the downside of using ISO that is extremely high or that falls outside. So another consideration when you are choosing a camera, what to consider is how good is this camera to light, you know, and what's the native ISO of this camera. You can now compare side by side and say, okay, Blackmagic 6K Pro, the native ISO is between, let's say, 800 and 32,000. Oh, but this one can give me, can push, you know. So you have to compare it side by side to know exactly what do you need, so that you don't go beyond it. And it depends on the workflow you're using. If you are using exposure index, most of the time it just caps how far you can go or how low you can go. You can't go beyond that, you know. But it's a way to control your exposure on set is to crank up your ISO, your ISO. Okay, and when we talk about shutter speed, it's how do I explain that? Shutter speed also gives you more light, but at the expense of motion blur. You know, let's say you're shooting a moving object, or you're doing, the camera is moving. you don't want to joke with your shutter speed at that point. It's a no-go area because you have the tendency, or it's very sure that if you use a too low shutter speed, definitely you will have that blurry shot. You know, when you move and you discover that after you have moved, you pause the playback, and then you see that your hand has gotten here, but you still have some more hands, or so it's called motion blur. And then the other thing and the key thing to control the lights with little or effects that you can get away with is the aperture. Because the worst thing you're gonna lose if you use aperture that is too much or too low is the fact that it's about how much is in focus, and that's when we talk about depth of field. You know, depth of field is when you can have a narrow depth of field or a shallow depth of field. When you open up your iris up until if your lens is 1.2, so you see the reason how you will choose your lenses now. This lens is 1.2 and it's constant, or it's a prime lens. So it's 1.2. We call it fast lens. That means those kind of lenses, even if you put a torchlight and you're using a good camera, they are going to help your lighting. You know, you don't need to start going to use ISO and shutter speed to boost your lighting up, you know. And then it's going to give you a sweet, perfect, shallow depth of field if you're using, if your iris is open all the way. So by the time you start closing the ISO, you start closing the aperture, that's when you're having higher number, like f18, f12. It's now becoming very dark, you know. And I've seen people that the lens can go all the way to 1.2, but they put their lens on 4, on 5, on 6, and when they need more light, guess what they do? They go and increase the ISO. No, don't do that. The bottom line is you need to know what you are looking for. You know, you need to check out when do you use what in terms of lighting. Like now, this is what I'm doing. Check these 3 things and make a decision on what to change in order to have more light or to have less light. And it's not every time that you want a shallow depth of field. There are times that you struggle with focus pulling, especially when there is movement. So that's when to use the advantage of the closed aperture. You can push your aperture to 4.0 to up to 5, especially when you're outside, and you're going to achieve all in focus, you know. So that's a way to manage your lighting, and you need to be wary that every action or inaction affects you in one way or the other. So in terms of exposure triangle, the shutter speed, the aperture, and the ISO, they are very important, but you need to know what to tweak in order to give you the best of exposure on that set. So I want to believe like I've been able to give you a brief overview and introduction to cinematography, or to who a cinematographer is. But at the long run, it's still up to you to develop on what we have been talking about, to ask questions. You can ask me questions back, and we can have one-on-one. We can talk about all these things we've been saying that around cinematography, around visual storytelling, because I just did a brief paraphrase of everything because of the limitation of time. I want to believe that you have gotten something one way or the other. Yeah, please, if you have any question, please throw it at me. Feel free to follow me. Feel free to subscribe, whatever it is. Let's have a conversation around this. Whatsoever gap that you have in terms of your profession as a director, as a filmmaker, as a cinematographer, you need to fill in the gaps, and you need to identify the gaps first, and then you need to fill in. Thank you for watching.